Happy Tuesday, everybody. My name is Dan C. Bearded. This is the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel, and this is our Tuesday live stream every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, called Doctor's Orders, where you get to know the company, what's going on. You get to know the owners. You get to know the processes. And speaking of all of that, I have this gentleman next to me here. This is Nick, Dr. Nick himself. Nick, how are you doing today?
What's up, guys? I'm doing fantastic. I'm back to a 10 out of 10. I'm
There
good.
we go.
You know, it's looking good. It's so much better Tuesday than last Tuesday. It seems like an 11. It's like one of those contrast things, you know?
Yes. And if you guys missed last week, we had a really good discussion on men's health, men's mental health, going and getting your checkups and preventative measures. Really good show. I think it's very relatable. I encourage you guys to go watch it or even listen. Had somebody message me today. They were driving to the hospital, actually, and so they put it on audio as they drove and listened to it kind of podcast style. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think I saw something else come through about that, too. We've had some awesome feedback from that last week. You know, people,
so good.
You know, either people talking about something to somebody that they've been avoiding, or going to the doctor and getting things checked out that they've been avoiding. And I mean, hell, if I got one person to go out and,
right,
you know, potentially extend their life and, you know, or just, you know, overall feel better out of that, I'd feel fantastic. And it seems like we've had like a whole group of people that have kind of been sending in some really good comments following up on that one.
For sure.
Great.
So, and speaking of that, Evan says, Dan, why don't you have a podcast? Evan, great question. I think that I likely will at one point in my life. Right now, I just only have so much bandwidth and so many hours in the day. I do a lot of stuff that people don't see, including a ton of work for Dr. Nick's on a daily basis. I love it. I enjoy it all. I do my own videos. I have the family. I've got the gym. So many things that go into all of this. So I just don't have the time right now to do that. And I try to treat my live streams in the same way, where you can listen to it podcast style. I try not to make anything too exclusive where you got to be in the moment, but the moment kind of adds to it. So one day for sure, it's just not one of the baskets I'm putting all my eggs into right now. But it has been brought up that Nick and I would make a really good podcast if we were able to just talk and just, you know, go over the things that we know and love and are passionate about. And I think we both have kind of unique perspectives on life. So I think that's something that we definitely will toss around sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I people have brought that up to me too, man. And you know, they've been like, man, you guys going back and forth. You're only like 9 episodes, 10 episodes in, and it feels like we're at double digits today. You know, people are like, man, you guys seem like you've been going back and forth on this stuff for years. It's funny. That would be awesome. But you know, I think you and I would both need, what do you think? An extra like 2 or 3 hours in a day. So we need at least 27-hour days.
Yeah, and I think with them changing daylight savings time, I think we get like extra hours every day. If I know my math correctly, I think we just add hours to the day, right? Is that how it works?
That's it. It's the same way the Federal Reserve works now. we can just add in artificial time, and then boom, calendar problems fixed.
Yeah, we'll just worry about it later, you know, just down the road. So
that's a later problem.
Yep. Yeah, that will be good. It's like when I taught about the ancient Americas, they figured out thousands of years ago that a year was not 365 days. It's 365.24 something. And I would tell my students, I'm like, you guys know this. You grew up knowing this. And they're like, how? I said, leap year. Every 4 years, they have to add a day because we have a quarter of a day that's more, but it's not perfect. So every like so many hundreds of years, we have to do like a little reset. But
yeah, we skip it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll just, nope, not doing that, that one. So, man,
Fine.
We appreciate everybody being in here. Just a little reminder, if you guys came in, looks like most of you have already, so thank you, but just hit that thumbs up. If you want to share this with somebody, I think we have something pretty unique here, and I love seeing comments like we had one earlier that said from Chris that this is the highlight of his Tuesday work day, and I love that. Whether it's awesome. your lunch break or whether you put in a little earbud in and you're working and listening and have your phone propped up, that's really, really cool. And it kind of fits the vibes and the flow of this show. And so we're excited to have you guys. It seems like it's just growing and the personal investment is there and you guys getting to know what's going on is really cool. And today we have something special. We have previously done a tour of the entire facility, and it was just kind of a quick like drive by of everything that's going on. And we wanted to focus on something that I think is pretty unique to this company and pretty special. One of the companies that Nick owns is called Bigfoot Slabs. Bigfoot Slabs, and they do all sorts of wood products. And one that is now, at least for this point, there's going to be more in the future. You never know what's going to happen. But as of right now, there are some wood products on the website. If you go to accessories, right, products and accessories, they have these beautiful display bases to hold your Dr. Nick's beard products. And they are custom made. Now, when we say that, I don't think it fully resonates with people to understand that these are custom made. And so we said, why don't we show them? Why don't we show the value of these? Why don't we show the process of how it's actually made? And we're going to do that today. From concept to completion, every step along the way, you're going to be able to check out how they do these in-house and even be able to check out that, like, oh, wow, Nick is involved with this stuff. Yeah, 100% on this one. So I don't know about you, Nick, but I really am excited. I think that there's something satisfying about watching woodworking and the process of something being created rather than just ordering it and receiving it. You get to know what actually went into this.
Absolutely. That's the cool part about making them too. That's the having it done right downstairs where we can come up with designs and then use a CNC machine, bring them from raw wood into something that's, designed, by us for us is just awesome. Talk about a cool pilot process. It's like Jill and I will be covered in sawdust one morning along with Sir, because we'll be down in the shop and the dog's running around and we're just testing things out to see, what's going to work with some of the stuff we have coming. But there is something special about, I've always found something special about like watching woodworking videos just in general.
Yeah.
They're kind of therapeutic in a way, they're really cool. And working with it is no different. It's great. I'm nowhere near as talented as Tom, who runs our wood shop downstairs. Thankfully, I have the computer, side of things on lock pretty well. So I can kind of, do some things that are well above my pay grade from a woodworking perspective that Tom would probably be able to do by hand, no problem. But it's great. It's relaxing. It's a great creative outlet, and we get to produce stuff that is exactly what we want and comes from right downstairs.
And that's huge. And we're going to get into that in just a second, but I do want to address Chris's comment here. He said, I've been waiting for the wash to drop so I can grab a butter and oil and wash together. Current stuff is causing some funky things. And two things on this, Chris. This is why this company was created. Nick created it not because of wanting to make money, not because of wanting to make products. It was he had an issue, and he wanted to solve it by making something that works for him, getting rid of the funkiness, getting rid of the irritation, all these different things. That's why this company is created. Now, we do have a big drop coming soon. In the next couple of weeks, we will say that, possibly in the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned. We'll keep all the information out. All the wheels are turning. Sometimes you never want to make a solid promise in case there's a delay in shipping or something along those lines. But Chris, very, very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if you want to elaborate or take that any farther, Nick.
No, I always get myself in trouble when I do that. I think we're. I like your very diplomatic response. We are though. No, all kidding aside, we're within a couple of weeks of releasing. We're definitely still right on target for that to happen this month. So we're pulling it in as quickly as we're pulling in the date as much as we can. And at this point, just to full transparency, we're waiting on one more raw ingredient and we're waiting on labels. And besides that, we're ready to roll. So looking really good.
Yep. So big ones coming. And man, guys, please keep giving this feedback. It really fuels us. We don't do any outside of the realm of just everything within this company and from within you guys. So these comments mean the world, right? Judd says, get the butter now. It's wonderful. Jake says the butter is fire. Mark says, agreed. Chris, if you grab the oil and butter now, get it. And so, man, it is amazing. And then he said, I'm about to grab the butter and oil now. I feel like I'm missing out big time. And man, we didn't even ask you guys to make those comments. So thank you. We know that's coming from the bottom of your heart. That means a lot. Me and Nick literally last night at like 8:30, I sent him a message of feedback that we have on a daily basis. Where like, and the first thing he said to me as I sent some feedback, he goes, wow, like every day we're like, wow, like this is crazy.
Blown away, dude. Like I was sitting there last night working on the last couple of finishing touches on our beard wash, face wash, body wash, labels, and I had to make a couple adjustments. I'm sitting there working in Illustrator, messing with something that wasn't working with the vector graphics there. And I finally look away long enough to realize that one, we're like 45 minutes into your live stream, and I saw that review from you. So I read that as I'm like logging on to your live stream so I can check out what's happening. And man, that was incredible. Like the stuff that we get back from people like that. Literally, I was tired. I'd been staring at a screen for 12 hours yesterday. And that literally just like woke me up. I had a hard time going to sleep after reading that review. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah, we had a super potent workday yesterday, you guys, getting a ton of stuff done, and it's all just setting it up to be very exciting. One thing I will show, and these comments keep coming, you guys, I love it. Jake says the butter is super smooth, almost soft, melts in your hand. One thing that I think is pretty cool that we did add to the website yesterday because of your guys' feedback, because of your guys' requests. If you guys go to products and then you select bundles, we now have some bundles in here that are going to save you guys some money, including adding the butter to these bundles. So it does save you money. If you bundle 2 together, you save. If you bundle 3 together, you save even more. So that is on the website. I will link that in the chat right now. So if you guys want to check that one out, if you're like, I'm going to get an oil and butter, and then the nice thing that we were able to figure out is it gives you the option to pick what oil and combo you would like with that butter. So if you're like, man, Dan always talks about the number 7, how about I grab the number 7 oil and then the unscented butter? So pretty cool, you guys, to have those combos available and ready for you. And man, we have so much coming through, ready to go. And Chris says, I honestly feel better about doing business with a company closer to home, 1 state away. And yeah, that's what it's all about. And I hope you guys appreciate the transparency and literally opening the doors to show you everything about this company. And so we have nothing to hide here. We think we have everything to gain by being transparent.
Yeah, I mean, it 1,000%. To the point we had somebody heard about us from a friend, heard we were local, and I go out to get in my car the other day in the parking lot, and there's some guy kind of hanging out there next to his car, and he's like, "Are you Nick?" And I was like, "Yep."
What
and yeah, and he's like, "Do you guys have like a retail setup in there? Can I come in and buy stuff, this and that?" And we don't have a retail desk or counter or anything yet. We might have a showroom or something someday, or something to shoot things downstairs. But we do everything online and in barbershops. But I invited him in, introduced him to Jill and Sir, and he came and picked out some good stuff, and he wanted to pay in cash, and off he went. So it was talk about transparency. It's like, no, we don't have retail. Oh, but you're a friend of a friend. Come on in.
That's cool.
It was good. It was really good.
He was actually messaging me on the customer service side, and so I reached out to Nick and Jill. I'm like, hey, this guy's wanting to visit stuff. I didn't hear anything. Then next thing I know, Jill says, we got him covered. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
It's hilarious.
Yep.
No, but as far as I'd like to point something out, on the bundles too. Everyone knows Dan is an expert when it comes to beards and beard products. Not everyone knows that Dan is like becoming quite the back end admin for our storefront Shopify. He's like, we're like throwing him in the deep water of the tech world here. It's just, but each thing, I think is going to be like, oh man, he probably doesn't want to get this too much in the weeds. And then we kind of cover it a little bit, and you come back and ask more questions about what else you can mess with. And it's just awesome. So, Dan is more multi-talented than you guys even knew.
Well,
look at this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It is really nice. And when you go in here, guys, it's got all the scent profiles. The ingredients are broken down. The how-to is broken down. There's, at least from someone that was on the consumer side and the creating side of content, you look at a website and you appreciate a good website, but you likely have no idea what goes into it. At least I didn't. And then when you start doing this stuff and it's like, okay, how do we show that dashed line with the price? Oh, okay, you got to go in here on a different side of the site. Okay. Oh, then we got to change the ingredient. Oh, then we got to change it. There's so much that goes into it. And
it's all nested.
If it's done well, nobody will ever notice. And it's such a unique feeling, but it is a source of pride. I think it's a really cool thing to be able to learn and to be able to go through. And this is something that we work very hard on, Corbin, is the mobile friendly. that aspect is not easy as well. There's many things that me and Nick both are like, boom, nailed it. And I'm like, Nick, the mobile doesn't work.
Yeah.
and
Damn.
yeah, and we figure it out. We get it rolling, but there's a lot to that. We have to maximize it for laptop, for tablet, and for mobile.
Yeah. It's crazy too. And then, it's just trying to get what you have in your head sometimes is so different, working in the confines of what's possible with what you're, in the framework that you're working in, right?
Yep.
But it's great though, man. It goes to show the partnership to everyone watching though. I mean, dear God, these product releases would take us so much longer if I didn't have Dan helping us and taking on so much that he's taken on. So it's just, it's what's making all this acceleration and new products and everything else possible, is that I'm, able to actually like get a thought out about what needs to happen. And between Dan and Jill and I, we kind of divide and conquer. And it's just really starting to feel like a well-oiled machine. No pun intended. It's fantastic though. It really is working out.
Yeah, in Car Bomb, I agree. And not just beard websites, but most websites. A lot of people just try to do too much. You get all these pop-ups and all these apps and everything, and it gets to be overwhelming and too clicky and clunky. And we do everything from the user standpoint. Everything. Like when we made these combos, you should have heard where we ended was not where Nick and I started or thought we were going to go. And we're talking through and we're like, well, if they do this, they're going to want to be able to pick their oil. Oh, yeah. And then we went through the whole process. So we do it all from the user-friendly first and foremost. Nothing else matters if it's not user-friendly. So that's something that really is conscious and important for us. Garrett, good question. Any updates on the apparel, Chris?
Yeah. So we should have a couple of samples on the way to us this week. And so I think we've figured out the source and the company we're going to work with on shirts. We're down to the right model of the new era hats. And we basically are between two people that supply those. And we think we don't need samples of those. We know what they're like. I have them all over the place. But I think we're on track, looking really good. I don't think we're going to hit November, but our target of this year is definitely happening. I definitely see these being available for the holiday season. I'm pretty confident we're going to have these out in December. Very worst case, we're looking beginning of 2023, just with the other releases we have. But I mean, we're right on the final approach here. Finally,
beautiful, awesome.
And all doing so, by the way, a lot of people I asked, about hats that have ones in the area that I like and or use the hats that we like. They're all like, oh, get your shirts printed this place, shirts, shorts, hoodies, flannels. This is great. You're not going to be able to make any money on hats. You're getting them made in the United States. You're going to have to go to China. You're going to have to get this and this and this. And so we finally decided, like, kind of don't care. We want the hats, and we want them to be the ones that we want. And we're not looking to get rich selling hats, just like Dan says with his. He likes the quality, he likes the way they look. Doesn't really care if they're a profit center or if it just helps spread awareness of the brand. And I think that's really where we're at there. We want to get something that people are proud to wear, that they like. And if it's not a profitable product, that's okay, right? Not everything needs to be. So I think it's fine.
100%. Yep, I'm on that same exact page. So awesome. And thank you guys all for the kind words. And hey, I think it's time to get this party started. So again,
Let's do it.
What we're going to do is give you a little tour from start to finish of our product display bases, and you guys can see how this works here. I believe first we have a computer rendering that Nick is going to show, and I know some of you guys will, and this is a compliment, will nerd out on this and like understand and love the behind the scenes aspect of how this is going to work here. So we'll be doing this. We'll be going mobile and taking a physical tour down to the shop. You'll see some of the processes of this creation. And if you're someone that likes woodworking, man, there's going to be a really cool little field trip that we're going to go on today. And yeah, man, it's just such a like therapeutic, enjoyable session. I'm trying to bring a comment earlier from, I believe it was Tim Glass had said, something along the lines of that, yeah, it really is like a therapy. It really is something that is just enjoyable. Right here, he says, woodworking is very therapeutic.
It is. There's something about it, And so, yeah, let's dive into it. What Dan said, we're going to start off here on the computer. I wanted to show you guys just our product display bases. kind of how they start. And when I say how they start and how they end up, we're going full on how they start and how they end up here. So and then once we'll get through this, I'll grab my mobile setup and we'll switch to an earpiece and we'll run down to the wood shop and we'll look at what the machine does with these computer renderings, how that comes out, and then how that turns into a finished product. And then we'll probably wrap up back up here if we have time. So the product display bases that Dan showed you, they all start off as just a vector drawing, right? Just simple, basic lines. And what you do with a CNC machine, this program, by the way, is called VCarve, and it's made by Vectric, and it's pretty cool. You can basically just create shapes just like you would in any other kind of drawing tool. In this, I just did a quick sample. I think I did an 18-inch piece of wood that would fit 2 bases out of walnut. And so here's what's unique about CNC machines. You take these lines, right? And what you end up getting is these things called tool paths, where you basically tell it what tool you want to go over those lines and what you want it to do with those lines. How deep do you want it to cut? How wide do you want it to be? All that kind of good stuff. And you can then kind of preview what that kind of looks like. It shows you the paths that it's going to take. Those little arrows are the direction of the tool. And you can see those for each of the lines that you draw. Like this cuts out the pocket for the comb. This cuts out the pockets for the products in the front. This creates a profile around the whole thing to cut it out and make the finished shape and size. And this just creates that nice little bevel on the outside. Now, where these programs get really cool is where you flip to these 3D render modes here. And you tell it that you want to render out what things might look like. So like we'll kind of do this one step at a time like the machine does. We'll say, render those tool paths. So it actually draws it and gives you a 3D rendering of what it's going to do with those tools and how it's going to cut those pockets. And then so you can then tell it to show me all of it. And you can look at all the tool paths and see what it's going to do. And you can see those are our kind of finished display bases. It cuts them all out except for these little tabs so it can hold on so that things don't go flapping all over the place when they're loose. And you just zip these off with a saw. And we're going to do that downstairs, by the way.
Wow.
And so it gives you this really cool 3D rendering. And something else that it does that's really, really neat is you can visualize the tool paths on here with or without the rendering. And if you look at these lines and you zoom in and then we turn it sideways, those are the passes that the tool is making to get all the way through the wood. So if you're telling it on the profile that I want you to go down each time, I want you to cut 0.125 of an inch, so 1/8 of an inch. I want it to go down 1/8 of an inch, make a circle, go down another 1/8 of an inch and make another circle. This actually shows you a visual representation of that process. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 passes to get through that material, all the way through it, right to the bottom. And that's how it makes those passes. And it even shows you where the tool starts, where it ends up, where it does its plunges to get down into the material. And so, I mean, it's a really cool way to be able to design things and lay things out because you're able to get a really good idea really quickly of what that's going to look like, what the tool is going to do to get there. And you can start finding problems and massaging things here as well. But that's basically what it is. I mean, this is how all of our stuff that we make, whether it's going to be combs, bases, other things that we're going to make for Dr. Nick's, just like anything we make down there on the CNC, this is how it all starts off. Blank canvas, some black lines, and then you layer on some tools and you create some renderings and you figure out how long it's going to take here with little time sheets. Like right now it says like to do all this, it's going to take 53 minutes. And it does most of that on its own. It's just kind of unattended. You get it, set it up. Do you change the depth per pass depending on the wood species? Absolutely. Size. So you basically have a few things to worry about. When you're looking at one of these and you're looking at the tool path and you wanted to see this here, there's a couple of main points. And one of them is how far do you want it to step over the last pass on the first one? And that gives you an idea of how much material is on the side of the bit. How deep do you want it to go is one thing to consider based on the hardness of the material, be it acrylic, plastic, metal, wood, those sorts of things, or hardness of wood, like pine versus oak, right? Two very different cut speeds. Another thing that goes into it is the feed rate, and that's how fast the bit moves through the material. So you kind of have to judge how deep you're going versus how fast you're moving through the material, and you have to balance those. So if it's a really hard wood, you might only want to go down a 16th of an inch and then feed it a little faster so it doesn't burn. Or you might want to slow the speed of the router down and slow the feed rate down and increase the plunge, right? So there's a bit of trial and error, but yes, the size of the bit, the depth of the cut, the speed of the feed, and the speed of the turn of the router, all four of those things are critical elements into getting a workable piece when you're done.
That's crazy, man. The like detail, like I know what this is going to look like. Like that's wild that it can make it look like that to show you the end product.
It is. And this is like the low detail too. Like if you look at this, I think the toolpath simulation quality right now is on high. You have very high, extremely high, and maximum. Here's your volume. Yeah, here's your 11 on the volume knob right there. This rendering goes to 11.
Yeah, right. No, that's beautiful. That is super, super. I had no idea, no concept of what that was going to look like.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. Like the stuff that you're able to do. I mean, like I did a you know, like a wood inlay of Michael Myers in a charcuterie board for Halloween. We wanted to make a spookery board for a Halloween party, so because we're nerds, and so we took a big 30-inch piece of charcuterie board that I had and did a wood inlay of Michael Myers' face in it. And my friends of mine that are woodworkers, they're like, how the hell did you get a wood inlay to do that? Like, you have really fine little pointy lines and hairs. And we did it all with this really cool where you have like it's a path that essentially works that gives you V's to work with for inlays instead of pockets.
Oh,
and so it was so cool. Like, you know, we like, let me pull up the most recent one here just because we got to look at it. It's too fun. And so here was what I worked with as like a starting image. You have a female and a male version of it, and they're mirrored, right? Oh. So when they're mirrored like that, it's tough to see. What we'll do is just look at like the female version of it, and we'll go over here and we'll reset this guy really quick and preview it.
Oh, wow.
And so, oops, I did both of them. Let me just do the female again. So this is what it looks like as the part that you set the wood into, and it makes you these little pockets. And so it's got these nice little V shaped pockets where the wood sort of presses against the sides. And then, you know, you look at what this kind of turns into at the male side of it. You got these two pieces, and it flattens it out and it carves you the male version of that female piece.
Wow.
And so you do it out of two different colored pieces of wood, and you add a bunch of wood glue to it, and then clamp the guys together overnight, and then you saw it apart in the morning. And man, you're left with like this perfectly tight V groove wood inlay of literally any shape you want. It's so cool. It's just things that wouldn't be possible without a computer with woodworking.
Wow. That's amazing.
Very neat. Well, what do you say? You want to go down to the wood shop and see what this thing looks like when you crank it out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. I'm going to mute myself here and put in an earpiece, and we will transition.
All right. All right, guys. Now we're going to take a trip down to the lab.
Boom. Oh, man, it's almost like we practiced that this time. Oh, that's going to be cool. Okay, let me flip the camera around here real quick. That way you can see where we're going. And we got, I'm on 2.1 right now. Here we go. Does this one work? Hey. I'm telling you what, Dan, it's like we know what we're doing here.
Right.
And what I'm going to do really quick before I go downstairs, I'm going to make sure I'm on the correct Wi-Fi, because the other one will not work down there. Perfect. So I'm just going to point you guys like this for a second, and before I do anything dumb like drop you, I'm going to make sure I'm on the right one.
And guys, we did do a full tour of the Dr. Nick's facility. Was it 8,000 square feet? 8,000 square feet. 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 8,000 I believe, yeah, it's in the 8,000 range. And go check that one out. It's on an earlier episode a few weeks ago and brought you to the lab, brought you to
There we go.
Intersect. Okay, perfect.
Boom. Yeah, this is kind of the little loft area we have up here. If anyone missed the full tour, we got our studios all set up here in the top. And if you kind of peek down, we got our little catwalk where I can spy on Jill downstairs through the conference room. That was fun. And let's head on down. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, great. All right. Let's not smack the tripod on the ceiling like I did on the way up. We'll avoid that.
And guys, this is called Bigfoot Slabs. They have an Instagram. I'm assuming, have a website, Bigfoot Slabs.
Yep, bigfootslabs.com is us online, and on Instagram, yeah, just Bigfoot Slabs. We're doing a lot of cool videos with the CNC stuff too, which is great. So I'm going to try to see if I can point this camera over here, and we're going to go like that. So here, let's see if I can just get a nice close-up, is what that exact model looks like when it's cut up. And what I'll do is I'll turn it off the wide angle, so that way we can get a nice close shot. And that is what you get when this thing actually runs through the CNC machine and gets cut out. So it looks exactly like the computer rendering we just saw.
That's so cool. And that's what we were just looking at.
That's what we were just looking at. Like literally, I drew that out this morning, and I came down here a couple hours ago and literally just had it run through that so we could have an exact matchup of what we saw on the computer. So that literally, that drawing turned into this physical object right here just this morning. And this is the machine that does it. So what you end up having here, and this is kind of confusing being mirrored on my side. I'm sorry, I'm going to flip you guys just so I can see you properly. So basically what you have is, this is considered a tabletop CNC machine. And the difference is, you got these bigger industrial ones that basically would take up kind of like this whole area here with like a big metal frame and table. So these guys are kind of cool because you can really put them anywhere. And if you have an existing workbench like I did here, you know, you kind of see where I kind of have like start to finish sort of an area for this stuff. It was already kind of here. So why not use it? And so we have, you know, we have dust collection that basically comes up and comes across to the front of the machine and lets it go anywhere it wants without pulling any cables or hoses. And I mean, for simplification here, I mean, that's just a router that's attached to the head of this thing. And when you kick it on, what you got, and it is a wood shop, so don't think it's going to be as clean as a hospital here. You know, there's sawdust and stuff. So what we have here, I programmed a little touch interface to this guy. So this is like a little Arduino computer, essentially, running inside of a little touch interface. And you can manually control the machine and send it anywhere you want.
Cool.
And got our little dust collection shoe here. But there's your little bit that basically does all your tool paths for you, and you change those out depending on what tool path you program. So basically, this is no different than what you could do with a handheld router, except things that are just way too intricate to ever be able to do by hand. And so you're able to pre-program just about everything. And it's run by all of these little stepper motors. So these are 25 kVA EP motors, and they are little beasts. I mean, the thing is just awesome. And what happens, for anyone that's unfamiliar with these, is there is a big screw, essentially, if you can see that.
Yep.
It's like a big long bolt, if you really think about it, that runs the whole length of this machine back to a motor. And when this motor turns like this, it moves that screw. That screw is attached to little threads inside of this arm. And so whenever that thread passes through that little channel there, since that's fixed and the screw is moving, this arm moves down and along that screw. So literally everything you program on this thing, like if you wanted to tell it to cut from here, cut a circle, and then cut from here to here and clear it out, what you're saying is move Y this many millimeters, move X this many millimeters, and then go X that many millimeters. So you're literally telling it, you know, quite literal coordinates of start here, move this far this way, move that far this way, and move this far that way. And you look at how this stuff lines up. I mean, they're perfect edges. I mean, it's dead on. It runs about a 0.08 millimeter tolerance. So less than a tenth of a millimeter, this thing is accurate to. It's supposed to only be 0.12 millimeters, but I have it running a little cleaner than it's designed to, I think, which is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Side effects of being an engineer and a Virgo. I'm a giant pain in the ass who doesn't even like when things are perfect. But so here's basically where that goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this guy out of here. I'm going to put
All right, I think we lost your audio if you're talking, Nick.
I'm back.
Okay, there you are.
Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. Yep. You know, it's funny. I turned on do not disturb on this thing, and for some reason, it still likes to let a call come through every once in a while, and I'm not sure why. But
that's all right.
So what we'll do right here is I will tilt this guy a little so that we can see what we're working with. And there we go. So I'll put you right about there. And let's pull this guy off of here. So this is always fun, figuring out how to get these off of here without breaking the tabs or anything else. Let's get some, and see, I was careful with this one, and I was cautious, and I didn't want to cut all the way through the bottom, so it's a different thickness of wood than what I'm usually working with. So you're like, wait a minute, where's all the cutout lines? They are right about, there they are.
Oh, wow.
So that's just a little thin little strip of wood that just comes away real easy with the bandsaw. You just zip right through it. And so what you're left with, though, is essentially just, you know, two of them stuck together with these little tabs. And then, of course, well, you got to pull the tape off the bottom. That's how you hold it onto the board. So whenever anything goes onto these, you have an option of either using clamps or you can use tape. And depending on what you're doing, you kind of bounce between the two. So I think what would be the most fun is let's take this over to the bandsaw and cut these out and see how these things actually turn into more of a finished product.
Yeah.
So let's go on a little, let's continue our field trip here. And let me just take this guy, flip it up, flip you over here, and off we go. It's so weird holding I got my gimbal on top of a tripod. So it's like a tripod on a tripod. It's like tripod inception.
It's a 6-pod.
That's it. That's it. So here we are. This is just a big kind of light industrial bandsaw, I guess you'd say. It's bigger than what you'd see in a home shop and smaller than what you'd see in a really big shop. But what we'll do is we'll get this guy kind of set up to where we want it, which is going to be nice and tight down to the bottom. It's too bad Tom isn't down here, our shop manager. He's got an epic beard too. This whole building's full of beards. So let's, hopefully this isn't too loud. And Dan, if it is too loud, you can probably just mute me for a second, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. And actually what I'm going to do is I can just mute on my earpiece. So I'll do that so it's not too loud. And then what I'll do is I'll cut one out and I'll come back and we'll talk about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. I will make sound effects for you guys. Yeah, I don't know why Woodshop was not this cool when I was in school. I don't know if it was our perspective, Diablo, or if it was reality. Look at that satisfying cut right there. And so, oh yeah. So he's just taking off that thin layer, has those little tabs that are in there as well. And then after this, he'll finish up with some sanding. But right now, just removing the excess layers. Beautiful. Only built a little boat. I remember building an ashtray. I think that was all I really remember was an ashtray. I'll be honest, I was a little bit terrified of Woodshop when I was like 15 years old. Thank you, Joe. All right, here we bring the sound of. Oh, there we go. All right, he's smoothing it out.
And just so we have some sound effects, we can kind of get an idea. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I'll at least do one side with sound on. And you were scared of shop class because none of your shop class teacher had thumbs. I mean, like, I don't know what it is with high school shop teachers, but none of them had all their digits.
So true.
So there's a good reason to be scared. Boom.
Whew. Slightly painful, but worth it.
So what we're left with is sort of a rough, right? You know, it's, well, rough for a CNC machine job. It's pretty clean for all intents and purposes. I think if you did one of these in high school shop class, you'd probably be left with some of this stuff on a finished piece. But you see what we get is, you know, you got some marks from the bandsaw. You know, if you kind of look at these in the light there, you can kind of see you got some stuff to clean up. You got these little tab marks, those kind of guys. But basically what we do now is just bring this guy over to this oscillating sander who literally makes ultra short work of this. So let's go check that out real quick.
Super cool.
Back over this way. And, you know, we'll actually take a quick little detour. I think this is worth pointing out. So this is one of the pieces that I kind of would start with as a test for one of these. You know, this stuff all starts off like these raw pieces of wood right here. So these big giant slabs, foot for comparison, they're big boys. You know, this kind of wood gets cut down into strips left over from other stuff we do down here that ends up looking like pieces like this. And I like this one because it just had some really cool, you know, grain patterns in it, really clean, got some neat stuff happening. But, you know, they're not perfect. So when you get pieces of wood like this, you know, you can see like on this side, it fits. Let's see if I can get the camera working here. You know, on this side, it's pretty flat. And on this side, you know, it moves around a little bit, right? So what you do here is, this is a joiner, this machine here. This is meant for putting a flat face against here. And the bottom takes, you know, this takes off material from the wood. So if you have a 90-degree angle from here to here, and you line it up with this, and the bottom's not all the way flat, this will alleviate those imperfections that you get. So you literally take these little paddles, not your fingers, the paddles, and you take these paddles and you move them through this machine, and it gives you a nice flat surface to work with on, you know, do it to both sides, and it'll basically make a 90-degree angle between whatever reference surface you have and the side that's passing over the blades. Then, oh, go ahead.
How do the paddles grab the wood?
It's just foam. So they're just soft foam cushions.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And so they just kind of, it's just like a friction thing. So you kind of go like this and it pushes them. But if you do it not hard enough, you know, you kind of just slide across the surface, but you put some weight on there and it slides over the metal and it sticks to the rubber.
Awesome.
Yeah. So very much just a contact friction tool.
Okay.
And man, if you see this thing moving, like you look at these Black & Decker finger wreckers, tell me you want one of those things accidentally getting you.
Hey.
Those are all individual little carbide bits. So instead of being straight knives, like on a normal joiner, this guy uses these guys in what they call a helical pattern. So you got these little carbide blades that all have a little bit of a shearing angle to them. So that way, instead of whacking into the wood and cutting it like this, you're sort of slicing into it as the blades pass by it. So for highly figured woods, things that have lots of grain patterns and other things in them, it helps not rip chunks of wood out while these blades are passing by. So very, very cool setup. And so what we would do then, typically, is I would bring it over here. I'd bring my wood on its field trip, and we'd pass it through just a table saw. So I'd get a nice clean edge on one side so that it lines up with the fence on my table saw just right. And then I'd set it how wide I want it. And what I would do is I'd want to get rid of this one little imperfection right here. So I'd take this guy and I would pass it through the table saw like I did this morning with the other piece using a push stick. And so you get that guy through there. The jointer over there that we just looked at, the joiner gives you the straight edge that this needs to give a nice fit against the fence.
Makes
so
sense.
that makes sure that that cut that you get coming through here is nice and straight, lined up with the straight edge that you made on the face and on the side. So it's all about just keeping things square and having like some point of reference for that. And then once you have that and everything's nice and square, that's where you go through this monster. So this is a 21 inch planer. And what you can do here is adjust the thickness. So you take something like this guy and you feed it through. And if we had a longer just Woodshop class, I would be doing it and showing you my thickness meter that I use. But basically you use this crank over here and it adjusts this little gauge. And so this guy, if you can see that little red needle kind of moving up,
yep,
that adjusts how thick this material is going to be when it goes through there. So if I wanted to get something right at an inch and I needed it to be exactly an inch, you know, each one of these cranks on this thing only moves about 1/16 of an inch or a 32nd of an inch all the way around. So you can get really precise and you feed this through there until you get the exact thickness that you want. So then you have square edges, you have the width that you want, and then you have the thickness that you want. And then you have a piece that's ready to go onto the CNC.
Wow.
So that's kind of what it takes. I mean, to get stuff to go from, you know, fully raw wood like this stuff here to be cut down into strips that can turn into something like this, you know, that's basically the process is jointing, table sawing, planing, CNCing, and then everything we just did with the bandsaw and what we're about to do over here on the sander.
And that that wood that you're starting with, that is one that you guys already, what is it, pressure treated, or what's that process called to get all the water out?
We kiln dried it.
Oh, kiln dried. And that you guys do all that for this, or is this wood different?
Oh yeah, nope. This wood actually did go through our kiln, and you know the kiln process is just really cool. I mean, it usually takes 1 year per inch for wood to dry outside, for example. And if you're at 1 year per inch, and we're starting with 3-inch thick pieces of wood, you know, you get a cool pieces of wood, you're a few years out from using it.
Right.
The kiln brings that time down from 1 year per inch to about 8 days per inch.
Wow.
So, you know, we can have usable wood inside 2-3 weeks with thousands of pounds of it. And just to give you an idea, out of like, I don't know, 3,000 or out of like 2,000 board feet of wood, we will pull about 120, 140 gallons of water out of
it. That's crazy.
Isn't that insane? So let's do this. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to hit it on the sander real quick. I'm going to mute again so it's not awful. And we'll just take a look at the difference, you know, because we see all these marks now, really messed up looking. Doesn't look like something you'd want sitting around your house at all. And this, man, it makes pretty short work of it. So let me mute and I'll show you what it looks like.
All right. And Mr. OG Fitzroy, you have to dry it because the wood, I forgot the percentage. Nick will be able to tell us after unmuting, but it's like 40% water, something crazy. And you want to get all that out so you just have good dried wood to operate with. All right, here are my sound effects for the sander. I think that was pretty accurate. Nick will confirm he hears both, and that was pretty cool. So that's awesome. That's the oscillating sander is going up and down. I've never seen a tool that's like that. Man, that is really, really nice. Wow. Got a huge wood kiln in my town. If you can bottle the smell of the kiln, go and buy it now. Yeah. And my thought process as a homeowner is I just can't imagine the electricity bill of this place. When you talk about the kiln, you talk about all these tools and stuff, my goodness, that electric bill just has to be something special, something special. And then guys, every single product display base that is sold by this company goes through this process. There is nothing that is ordered. There is nothing that is sent out. It starts with raw wood and goes through all of this for every single one. And they have their exotic woods. They have the different types of woods, and more to come in the future. So if you're buying this, you're not just buying something to display. You're buying the entire story, the process, man. It is really, really cool.
Thanks for pointing that out. It's like this really is every piece we produce. There's no other option but to go through this. And now you look at what we're left with here.
Beautiful.
Just a really nice clean edge. And we cleaned it up. This is like 120 grit sandpaper, 150. So that's 150 there. It'll go through another pass of 180, and then it'll go through another pass of 220. And that gets it ready for oiling, which is basically the state that this one's at, like right now. Like this is one of our black limba pieces. Beautiful. And this guy is all cleaned up, all dressed up, ready for dinner. And he's about to go get some oil probably later today after he gets lasered. We use a little laser engraver right here, puts our logo on that guy, and then it goes in and gets oiled. And man, the difference when these things are oiled versus when they're raw is just such a cool transformation.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's so cool that I think we should show it.
Yes. And so on that note, Garrett had said, would you be able to stain or oil the wood with the beard oil scents?
Yes. So with the scent, wouldn't make much of a difference, but with the oil itself, absolutely. So one of these guys that I was messing with, we took our beard butter, and then with the beard butter, let me just adjust this a little. With the beard butter, we're going to add some more wax to it, and we're going to see if it's viable to actually create a conditioner and wax oil for wood. So we can actually use basically the beard butter. It'll just be wood butter with a little additional wax in it to give it some of that resistance. Because I mean, this stuff that we use, I looked through the ingredients, and aside from like the argons and the jojobas, it's basically carrier oils with some butters and a bunch of beeswax. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, we do everything else in house. Why the heck am I buying this stuff in a jar when we got all the stuff we need right upstairs?
Yeah.
But let's just take a quick little example of how much this wood changes when you hit it with some oil. So if you can see that okay,
yep.
You can kind of get an idea. And as you rub this on,
beautiful. It like comes to life. Wow.
Look at the difference there, huh? Look what you get.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
You just get all the pores start opening up, and you get all the dark grains out of there.
Yeah.
You look at that compared to that. It's like,
right.
I'm thirsty. Oh, I'm nourished. Speaking of which, what a cool comparison.
Right. Like
right?
A beard.
Imagine this. Here's the guy who grew a beard, has never put anything on it, complains that he has to shave it whenever it gets a little long because it gets itchy. Look what a little bit of wax and oils do to the surface of that wood. Like, you can actually see the pores in the wood right here, and how they're just start to shine. Think about how that relates to your face. I mean, these things are all doing the same thing. And it's just, you get these end grains on here, and oh man, it's just such cool stuff what comes out of this wood when it's oiled and then it dries. It's just, forget about it. It's so nice. Like, I think that's my favorite part of doing anything out of wood is that final part of hitting it with the oil. I mean, it really makes it come alive. It really does. I mean, you look at some of these darker pieces of walnut. I have some darker walnut we're about to use for some boards here too. And this, again, unoiled, untouched. And you just do a little spot in something like this, where it's got the dark side of the walnut with the purple. What you end up getting is just crazy cool colors that come out of this.
Yeah.
it just gets so much darker, and like it just really does just comes to life. You see all the colors just really pop between the different sections of that tree as it was growing. It's like you go from that to that.
Wow.
Like the change in luster is just amazing.
And Car Bomb had a good point here that you touched on briefly, but I would love for you to touch on just a little bit more. We got about 5 minutes left here, but he says,
Yeah.
Got a laser engraving machine, could personalize or put your logo on them. Now, these boards, the next step will be putting the logo. Is it a laser engraving machine that you guys use?
Yes. So we do use a laser engraving machine right now by Yora Home is who makes the one we have. But what we're getting here in about 2 weeks is a laser that mounts right to the front of this guy. So what it'll end up doing. Sorry about that. No idea how that happens. So basically, the laser engraver goes straight to the front of this machine. So once we carve out, say you're carving out 10 of these display bases, what'll end up happening is you turn on the laser head right afterwards, and it'll go right back across and laser the logo right on to each one of them without having to move these pieces and reorient it inside of another piece of equipment. So that'll definitely streamline things a little bit, because right now it is a separate process.
Awesome. And then Zach had a question, and Jill was on. He said, can you do custom engravings? And Jill said, we can for custom orders. Email any inquiries their way.
Oh, absolutely. Send us a note over to Bigfoot Slabs. Just hit us up on the Instagram there, or reach out to us here too. I mean, right? It's all one big happy family, so to speak. So perfectly happy to explore any of those things whenever they pop up. Oh, and we have a visitor through his office window here. Say hi, Jack. Got my son Jack in his office while he's out from school today for voting.
So cool.
Oh yeah. Well, let's head back up, and we will just wrap up the last couple of minutes here on the computer.
Perfect.
You want to switch me back over, and I'll kill my audio?
Yep. Absolutely. That's awesome. And I could do a tour of that place like all day, every day. Like that is so cool to see the inner workings and to truly know start to finish is what they have going. So man, absolutely amazing. And let's bring the man back in himself. We'll get this bad boy show wrapped up here with about 2.5 minutes left. Awesome, Nick. Thank you for taking us on that. All right, you're good.
All right. Almost back.
Yep.
There we go.
Clear.
And we're clear.
Awesome.
Well, nice, man. Thanks for coming on the tour with us, guys. Heck, I think that was fun. That was awesome. It's the woodworking stuff is cool. And like I say, I think we could just do multiple live streams on just how to make cool stuff out of wood.
Yep.
Making stuff out of wood's pretty manly. Beards are manly. We could just talk about making stuff. We could take requests. Hey, how do you make a blah? And we'll do a little workshop one day where we walk through how to make stuff if you guys want.
Like some more products we have planned for the future, you guys, and trying to perfect those. Super cool. I agree with Jill. She says, encore. I want more.
I want more Woodshop.
I'm with you for sure.
We had Jill bandsawing apart big tombstones a couple of weeks ago. I taught her how to use the bandsaw.
Oh, nice.
And we wanted more foam headstones for our Halloween setup at the house. And so I was like, well, let's just cut them out in the CNC machine. I'll route them out, and you can go cut them up and finish them and paint them and do whatever you want. And so I got photos of Jill standing there at the bandsaw, like feeding through these giant, 40-inch pieces of foam. It was awesome.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah, you're going to have a whole new world on your hands of things you guys can make.
Oh yeah, man. It's great. I can't wait to get the combs coming out. This is going to be so much fun.
And final couple people have commented on this before we kick it to you for the exit. Evan and Garrett have commented about a new candle scent called Woodshop.
Ooh. New candle scent called Woodshop. Now that'd be interesting. Imagine working some like sawdust into some paraffin and the wood almost burns a little bit as the wax melts or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's outside
You know, a
my
guy down
world.
the street from us told us about this type of sap that grows in an oak, and it's like the certain place in the tree where the sap grows. Because we were making fun of us saying like, oh, you know, we'd like to come up with a wood scent. You know, we wanted to for years, but until we found guasha wood, there was no essential oil for wood.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, you haven't seen the something or other Latin name crotch in the branches sap collection pores. And I said, no, I have not. And he's like, well, I'll bring some over. He's like, it'll make your whole office smell like wood, and it's an oil soluble fat from a tree.
Perfect.
And so I said, woo, hey, Woodshop candles. I think that would be the stuff to use right there.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
I like it. I like it. The wheels are spinning, you guys. The wheels are spinning. Stay tuned. All right, Nick, go ahead and take us home. I just want to say thank you for taking us on that tour. I want to say thank you for you guys hanging out and watching this. This live stream is a highlight for us. It means the world that you guys would carve out part of your, no pun intended, but carve out part of your day to hang out with us.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for coming along, guys, and just hanging out, watching it. And you got more Woodshop. Yes, more Woodshop. All right. We're gonna have to take a vote somewhere on Instagram, maybe. We take a poll, come up with a couple of things, and we come up with something we got to make. And we'll literally just start off and end in the wood shop making stuff. And we'll just do pretend it's like shop class. We'll just hang out. We'll do what we did in shop class. We'll hang out and do nothing and crack jokes on each other. I mean, that's
more sound
what
effects.
you do in wood shop. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, thanks for coming along, guys. This was great. We'll see you again next week. We just broke double digits into number 10 here on the live stream. That's super exciting. So big thanks to Dan for making it happen, and thanks for all of you for being here so we can keep making it happen.
Yeah,
with that,
buddy.
we will see you guys next week.
All right, guys. See you next week. Thank you for